Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. Today I have for you an Xbox 360 controller that has definitely seen some better days as far as cleanliness goes. While it may not look that beat up, it definitely feels like somebody maybe just put it into a jar of honey and let it sit there. Very sticky. So today I'm going to be taking it apart, just doing some basic cleaning on it and kind of showing everybody, the different parts about taking it apart, getting it clean, and all that fun stuff. Aside from it being just kind of grungy and sticky from use over the years, a couple of things that are going on with it is the Y button at the top doesn't click very well when you push it down, and then the same with the left bumper as well. Probably has something to do with some stickiness, some dust in there. So that's really one thing you have to look at. Otherwise, it's just going to be cleaning. So please enjoy the show. Also, feel free to like and subscribe. First thing is I'm going to need to find my mat. There it is. Now I just need to find my tool set. Oh, there. Oh, I'm a little excited there apparently. I absolutely love this toolkit as well too because it has so many different bits that I can use if I'm working on controllers, consoles, anything like that. So it really comes in handy. And then here also comes my favorite part about starting on a project. Ooh, that's just a nice sound. Alright, now that we got the tool we needed for this, it's going to be time to go ahead and get this controller taken apart. The nice thing about this is there's only a few screws here on the back that I'll show here for you that you need to take out to get this pulled apart. That screw right there normally does have a warranty sticker over it, but I had already taken it off before I started this. The nice thing too about this is that all the screws on the outside and the inside of this controller all take the same bit. So it just makes it a lot easier not having to switch between different bits as you're going in. Seems like all the newer consoles, newer electronics have 3 different types of screws inside of them, which is always fun, as you know. So once you get all these screws out, you'll be able to pull the controller apart. And don't worry though, for anyone who likes that sound of taking out a screw, I got something special here coming up for you. Always nice to get some ASMR in. So now that we have all the screws out of the controller, I'm going to go ahead and get the back panel taken off here and showing us the inside of the controller. So first thing I'll do is I'm going to take out the motherboard so that I can get everything taken off of there and get a good cleaning going on it. When taking off the rumble pads right here, you want to make sure and grab at this top part here, because if you grab at the base and pull hard enough, you could pull it right off the board and then you got to do some soldering, which is not fun. Next, we'll take off the analog sticks. You can see that both of them are pretty dirty as well too. Next, I'm going to be taking off one of the triggers here on the controller, and I wanted to kind of leave in the whole process of me trying to get it off, just so everyone can see that, even when you're making a video, not everybody's perfect. And also you can really hear the sound it makes when you try and take it off. I'm not going to lie, the very first time I did this, I thought I broke it. But with that out of place, you can get this spring out and take off the trigger, and you are now good to go. So for here, we got the motherboard out, and just kind of going over it just to see how everything looks. And as you can see, it's not overly dirty or greasy or anything like that, but you can definitely see that there is a little bit of kind of stains on it. And right there's where the Y button does push, so we'll make sure and get that sensor really cleaned. The Joy-Cons here, you can kind of see a little bit of dust inside of it. You might not be able to tell the best, but they definitely have some stuff inside of them, so we're definitely going to get those cleaned out just to make sure we don't have any issues with stick drift or anything going forward. So nice thing is this board is not overly dirty or anything like that, but it could definitely use a nice cleanup and kind of restoration on it just to make sure this controller is working at its best. And luckily no corrosion on the battery terminals either. Next here, we're going to go ahead and start taking out the smaller pieces here for cleaning. So this is the front of the controller, and we're just going to start by taking out all the smaller pieces. The start button selects all the different X, A, B, Y buttons as well too, and set those aside for cleaning. Now we got the Y button out here, and this is the one we were having trouble with earlier. And just kind of looking at it, it doesn't look overly dirty or anything like that. So hopefully just had something underneath of it, and once we get that sensor cleaned, it should be good to go again. So we'll just get the rest of the pieces out here, and then we'll be able to start getting this controller clean, and I know everybody is going to be very excited for that part. So here's the top part here where it has the left and right bumper on it. And if you kind of look at it, you can see some grime underneath the edges, but again, I don't see any damage or anything that would cause any permanent problems with the left bumper. So we'll go ahead and take off this last piece here and kind of show you where everything's at. So this is everything pulled apart for disassembly. Let's go ahead and get started on the motherboard. So first with the motherboard, I'm going to go ahead and use a can of air to spray off any loose debris, lint, dust, anything like that. Typically anything I take apart, the first thing I'll do is I will use a can of air to spray anything off of it, just to see if there's anything that can easily be taken care of without having to really start scrubbing and cleaning. Now that we got everything sprayed off, the next part of it's going to be to go ahead and start cleaning it with some isopropyl alcohol. The nice thing about isopropyl alcohol is it evaporates very quickly and it's safe to use on electronics. As long as you're using 90% or higher, you're safe to use it. Otherwise, if you go below the 90%, then the water content gets too high and you could cause some harm to your electronics. So you can see on here, I'm just going around with a toothbrush that's been soaked in isopropyl alcohol, really scrubbing at the different contact points. I'm gonna make sure in that Y sensor, I'm gonna scrub that one really good. And then just get anywhere where it looks like there could be some grime or anything like that. The nice thing about the isopropyl alcohol is it wipes away things that are kind of sticky on there very easily, and again does no damage to the actual board itself. And again, while this board wasn't very dirty to begin with, it did have some spots where it had something maybe was spilled on it. So this isopropyl alcohol works really great in getting all the grime off of the board. For the next part on cleaning the Joy-Cons, I'm going to be using what's actually called a contact cleaner for electronics. How this works differently from isopropyl alcohol is isopropyl alcohol just kind of pushes off debris. The contact cleaner though, what it does is it actually clings to items on the board, so like really sticky gunk, flux, things like that, and then kind of pulls it all together so that you can get things out of tighter spots easier. So I'm just going to go ahead and spray it in here a little bit, move around the Joy-Con so that it can collect up all that kind of dust and debris, and then it will kind of evaporate away, and then also do a little cleaning on it as well too. So I'm going to come in here now with some isopropyl alcohol again, just to try and get some of that debris that came out with the contact cleaner. And again, the nice thing is the contact cleaner as well as the isopropyl alcohol leaves no residue behind and will evaporate on its own. And so it's safe to use on electronics and really does a great job of cleaning them. And now that we got the motherboard all taken care of, we can move on to cleaning the rest of the controller. So I have a container of water here, and I'm just adding some standard dish soap to go into the container. You really can use any type of soap that you want to, as long as it's safe for plastics, because I always wash off the controllers with just regular water after using the soap water and let them air dry. So go ahead and start putting in all the different controller pieces here, and you can watch all of them go in one at one. I'm just joking with you. That wouldn't be fun to watch. So now that we got everything in here, we got our nice little brush here with some soft bristles, and let's get started cleaning. The cool thing about this brush is it's actually meant for using for babies' baths. You would use it to kind of wash their hair since their heads are very soft when they're young. And I like to use this one because then that means the bristles are very soft and not too firm. Because with this controller, it does have some specialty paint on it since it is a special edition controller. So I always like to use softer bristles just to make sure you're not damaging any of the paint or leaving scratches on the plastic or anything like that. Same thing with the toothbrush whenever I clean it too. I like to have one that has soft enough bristles that it's not going to leave damage, but also you want to make sure you can, really get in there and get some scrubbing done with it. But the nice thing is both of this brush and the toothbrush worked great on cleaning this, and you can kind of see on here going over all over the front of the controller, the back of the controller, just since they did have all that kind of stickiness on them. And then here I'm going to go ahead and start working on the bottom part and then the front top bumpers just to make sure that those are all clean too. Next, we're going to go ahead and start cleaning the different buttons. And if you remember before, the Y button was having issues when we would push it down. So we're going to really give it a good scrub to make sure we get the contact points cleaned on it if that was one of the issues. And then from that, we'll move on to cleaning all the other buttons the same way as well too. For the last part, I cleaned the power button for on the front of the Xbox controller, and I just thought it looked so cool after cleaning it, just like the chrome really shined up there. And so yeah, I kind of had to stop and be like, wow, look how shiny this looks. But with that, we have everything clean, so now we can go ahead and slowly start putting everything back into the controller. But don't worry, I'm just joking about that, and we'll go ahead and speed it up for you. I don't know about you, but I found that very satisfying. Next part here, we're going to start putting the pieces back on the motherboard. So as you can see, first thing is we're going to put the triggers back on. So you slide it on the back here, and then you have the spring in here that helps it kind of retract back up when you're using it. So first you put the spring in a little slot right here and kind of move it forward. And then when you get done with that, you can grab this piece right over here and pull it down into its slot. Next part here will be us reattaching the rumble packs. So they both very easily just click right back into their ports right here, and then just clicks in and you're good to go. And for the next part here on the motherboard, we're just going to put the analog sticks back on the Joy-Cons. Honestly, this is a very easy process. You just have to line them up with the gaps on the analog sticks and they go on very easily. And after they're on, they move around very nice. And now that we got the motherboard all put together, we're going to go ahead and put it back into our controller now. So putting the motherboard back in is actually pretty straightforward. You just line up all the different areas and it just kind of sits right on top. Then with your rumble pads, you want to make sure and put each one in its little slot here on the corners. And they do have a certain way you want to put in and line them up so that the cords don't get pinched under the motherboard. So once you got those all lined up, you just got to kind of set them in there and make sure they're in the right spot. Next, we'll be putting on the bottom part here that kind of just acts as an insert between the front and the back of the controller. Now, when you're putting on the back of the controller, you want to make sure and you align it pretty good, because first you need to get the triggers through the top, and then you want to also make sure that the battery contacts slide through the slot okay too. And then once you got that put back on, we're going to go ahead and grab our screws here and get started putting them in. The thing I also like about the mat that I'm using here for the controller is that it's got little slots at the very top where I can keep all the screws as I take them out. So it's just nice that you don't have to have like a cup or just something next to you, or just leaving them out loose that they could get lost, so that you always have them right there in front of you. And I don't know about anyone else, but there's just always something so satisfying about putting the screws back into a device or some type of electronic after you got done cleaning it or fixing it. I think it just kind of is a nice little way to help symbolize that the job is done, and it's just satisfying putting them all back in. And with our final screw going in here, we are officially done with this project. So let's go ahead and take a look at it and how it turned out. And again, here is how the controller first looked before we started cleaning it. Just had to get off some of that grime, that gunk that was kind of stuck in there. And let's go ahead and see how it turned out. And that looks very good. Definitely looking better when I first started with it. Thank you everybody who came in and watched the video today, and a big shout out to my daughters Violet and Lydia, who both reminded me every day to work on this project. If you guys liked what you saw today, I would love a like on the video, and if you'd like to see more content like this going forward, definitely hit the subscribe and notification button. Leave a comment in the video as well. Let me know what you thought of this and any other items you'd like me to work on in the future. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next video, and I hope that you all have yourself a wonderful day. Bye!